Hey everybody, hope you're doing well. Although I don't talk about it as much on this channel, I love Fallout. The first Fallout I ever played was Fallout New Vegas, then Fallout 3. I sunk hundreds and hundreds of hours into Fallout 4 on my Xbox One. I've been to the Divide, I've been to the Pit, Mothership Zeta, all the DLCs. And I also own all this junk over here, as well as an actual nuclear warhead. So, yeah, I'm not LARPing. The thing that I love most about Fallout is how it is for everyone. Whether it's the appearance of your character, their stats, or the choices you make in the actual world, the wasteland is your oyster. Or your Mirelurk cake, I guess. And I think the stories and characters within the games reflect this quality of Fallout, how it is really open for everyone. And there's a story for everyone. Which is why I am so pissed off. Remember when Obsidian was good? Modern Obsidian, pass. For those of you who don't know, that's Tim Cain. He's an openly gay game developer who currently works at Obsidian. Before his time at Obsidian, he worked on a couple of projects you may have known at a studio called, Interplay. He's one of the creators of Fallout. The original Fallout, Fallout 1 and 2. He was there, on that team. So I think you can understand my frustration seeing a tourist come around and say, gosh, I remember when Obsidian used to be good. And that's what really started me on this process of making this video, and what made me want to make this video to begin with. Because this is a sentiment I've seen all over the place, not just within the Fallout community, I'm talking everywhere. This idea that things are becoming woke. Now, on one hand, there's nostalgia. I think all of us at some point in our lives, no matter how open we are to new things, have thought, hey, this thing was better when I was a kid. I like the version I had when I was younger. I mean, I basically boycotted The Amazing Spider-Man because I thought it was so blasphemous because I grew up with the Tobey Maguire movies. And so, in a sense, nostalgia is baked into this sentiment I've seen going around. However, it's very different and a lot more malicious. It's this idea that LGBTQ or feminist stories, themes, or even characters and people are a new thing that's being forced upon you. And that is just plain wrong. There have always been LGBTQ people in the world, in your media, making your media. You just might not know it. Which is where today's video comes into play. This video will primarily focus on LGBTQ themes. However, here and there I will discuss how Fallout in general has had feminist themes throughout as well. Today we're going to be going through each of the Fallout games to try to figure out what these people are talking about. Where Fallout apparently went wrong and went woke. Which, that is complete sarcasm. Do not take that out of context. I probably have like a flashing light that's like, this is a joke, this is a joke. So we will start with Fallout 4. Fallout 4 released in 2015, and I very clearly remember the hype around this game. I remember Todd Howard walking out on stage in his little leather jacket saying, everything just works.
It's not, I'm not kidding.
And I fully believed God Howard and bought into the hype. And while Fallout 4 may not be my favorite entry in the series, I do have a lot of love for it because of where I was in my life when it came out, as well as the gunplay and just the overall hype. There was nothing quite like it. And plus, it came out in 2015. If you can believe it, that was about 11 years ago now. Which means that there's no way the woke mind virus was infecting Bethesda at that point, right? Oh my god, I need to make sure people know that's a joke, because that might sound like Alex Jones. They're turning the freaking synths gay! Do you understand that? Hate to break it to the Fallout tourists, but all 8 humanoid companions within Fallout 4 are romanceable no matter what gender the sole survivor is. So you can get with Piper as a woman or Preston as a man. There's also Magnolia, who is a synth singer and performer within Goodneighbor. The player, no matter their gender, can have a one-night stand with her. She also makes a pass at Piper if you have her with her, which Piper kind of blushes at.
I loved the song. It was perfect.
Real great set this evening, ma'am. Of songs, that is. Oh. Is it warm in here?
Oh, well, thank you. A girl tries her best.
One character that I had no idea would actually end up being in this video is Trash Can Carla. You can actually flirt with Trash Can Carla regardless of your gender. However, her response to the flirting varies. If you flirt with her as a male soul survivor, she will call you a wise ass and kinda laugh it off. However, if you flirt with her as a female soul survivor, she'll call you beautiful, and no matter what, you get your discount. So either way, she's flattered by your attempt, but it seems like she only has any genuine interest in the female soul survivor.
Just looking for love, sweetheart.
Girl, have you come to the wrong place? My loving days have long since passed. But I'll tell you what, beautiful. You made an old girl smile, and that ain't easy. You want to do some trading? I'll give you a discount.
Sure.
At Bunker Hill, you can find Deb and Kay. One's a trader and the other is a doctor in the settlement. The two of them are raising a daughter named Meg, and while it's not explicitly stated that they are in a relationship within the game, according to the creation kit, they are labeled as Meg's mothers, meaning that they are in a relationship and she is her child, basically confirming that they are both her mother. These two characters are actually the first depiction, as far as I can find, of two gay characters raising a child within Fallout. Now, they aren't the first gay couple within Fallout to have a child, period, but they're the first to be shown raising them. And this couple is one of many examples within the Fallout franchise of there being more than just representation. It's a good representation. Sure, there are stereotypes out there, and there are stereotypes within the series, but it's not simply having someone be gay for the sake of being gay. Just to say, hey, checklist, we have a lesbian in the story. They're there because they make the world feel more fleshed out, and they don't really fall into the stereotypes that you would think of. And for a long time, there was a stigma around gay couples raising kids. So the choice for Fallout 4 to have a happy relationship where two women are raising a child together is definitely a statement, I think, and a good one at that. Coming back to Good Neighbor, you've got Mel. Mel is a technician, and he will flirt with the male soul survivor. Going to Vault 81 for a moment, Miranda Song is a character who will discuss a failed relationship with a woman, confirming that she is at the very least queer in some sense. So that's the main game, but what about the DLCs? Well, not even they're safe from the gay people. That is, I have to stop doing these jokes. Because if the wrong person finds this and doesn't know me or my channel, they will think I'm being homophobic. Okay. In Far Harbor, the sole survivor can rescue a settler named Andre from the fog. He'll tell you a sad story about how he lost his husband to the fog. In Nuka World, if you were to assign the pack to take over the galactic section of the park, you can hear some female members of the faction commenting at how attractive Nuka Girl is. Now, those are all fun little anecdotes. However, I think the biggest LGBTQ theme or story that's hidden within Fallout 4 actually lies in something that is super integral to the main quest line. Synths are synthetic humans who are grown in a laboratory and built. Now, synths are typically referred to as machines or robots, which is kind of true. Gen 1 and 2 synths are exactly that. They're robots, and some of them have a rubber coating on top of them to appear as skin. However, Gen 3 synths are a bit of a combination. Sure, they can be cybernetically enhanced to become coursers, and they are built in a lab. You can actually watch the process. The skin on top of them is a real biological material, similar to the T-800 from Terminator. It's a machine coated with a biological material over top of it that resembles skin. Basically, it's human skin that they've grown for it. That is why Sean's DNA is so important, because in a sense, every synth is related to him, which that is a whole other can of worms if you decide to romance any of them. But I'm not here to get into that. Your opinion and view of the synths is very important to the outcome of Fallout 4's main story. It really wholly decides what faction you're going to go with. Are they just machines? Are they abominations? Or is there more under the surface? Because they can think and because they have free will, are they people in a sense, and do they deserve freedom? While this idea on its own is not inherently an LGBTQ idea, the idea of identity and who you are is something that is integral to the community. However, I think there is one story in particular that deals with a synth and an identity crisis that I think ties very heavily into certain LGBTQ themes. Curie is a very popular companion within Fallout 4. She can be found in Vault 81. When you meet her, she's a Miss Nanny robot. Basically a Mr. Handy painted white, or cream-ish. I don't know, I'm a little colorblind. She has been locked in the secret wing of Vault 81, trying to come up with a cure for the disease that the mole rats are carrying. After you complete the Hole-in-the-Wall questline, she can join you as a companion. After a while of getting to know her and getting your affinity up with her, Curie will come to the sole survivor and ask a request. She feels that in her current body, in her current Miss Nanny body, she is not able to really get to her full potential. There's more that she wants to do for the world in the medical field that she feels she cannot accomplish in this very limited body. It doesn't feel right to her. She longs for more. She asks if it were possible to put her into a synth body, to transfer her consciousness. Now, she doesn't know exactly how this would happen. It's more so wishful thinking at this point. However, it seems that Dr. Amari, who you may know from the Memory Den, is actually very well suited to complete this request. After contacting her, it'll take some time, but eventually she'll come back with some good news for Curie. A synth was undergoing an identity reassignment when something went wrong, leaving her mind wiped. So now, this Gen 3 synth body is laying there in a vegetative state with no consciousness within it. You're able to go to the Memory Den, where Curie is able to have her mind, her consciousness, transferred into this new synth body, and it goes off without a hitch. And Curie is ecstatic, and there's a lot of new things for her to deal with, like learning how to breathe or walk, considering before that she had like a jet and 3 arms. I feel that Curie's storyline could be viewed as an allegory for the transgender experience. Curie realizes that her current body, the way it currently is, the way it's presenting, you could say, is not right for her, that she longs for something different, something more. And the solution is to transfer herself into a body that more accurately fits how she feels and what she wants. I think that, in a sense, this mirrors the sensation of gender dysphoria, that kind of unconscious feeling that this isn't the right thing for someone. Now, of course, I can't say for certain that that was the intention, 100%. But I think the similarities are there. And I think someone who was going through that thing could identify with her and what she wants and what she eventually gets. So that's enough of Fallout 4. I guess, 11 years ago wasn't long enough. So I think we need to go back a little further. We'll give Bethesda one more chance to show us how much better things were all those years ago before. I need to stop with this. I can't keep making that joke. Next, we're going to go to Fallout 3. Fallout 3 was released in 2008 and even has a Bible verse at the center of its story, so I mean, hey, I think this is it, guys. I think we found it. I don't know what I'm gonna put in what I just looked at, so... Fallout 3 does not have as many romances or sexual encounters as some of the other games do, but you can sleep with an NPC. However, it's not nearly as common of an encounter or as graphic of an encounter as it is in Fallout New Vegas. There's a character within Megaton named Nova, who will sleep with the player character regardless of their gender for caps. She's seen talking to female Megaton settlers in a flirtatious manner. However, we do need to remember that she is a prostitute, so it's kind of her job to flirt with people and to sleep with them, and she is being forced to do it by Colin Moriarty. So it is important to remember that context. This next NPC we'll talk about is more of a stereotype of a gay man. However, it is still representation in a sense. I'll kind of circle back on that in a second. Anthony Ling is the owner of New Urban Apparel within Tenpenny Tower. When I read over his little page on the wiki, it says he is fond of making his clients look fabulous and aggressively flirts with male guards, including their superior, Chief Gustavo, who will respond by threatening him. All that to say, the stereotype of a gay man, wanting to look fabulous and to, you know, be into fashion and all those things. Yeah, that is a very common stereotype. I don't think it's inherently a hateful stereotype, and I have met plenty of gay men in my time who love fashion and who love to look fabulous, so, you know, there's a little truth to it. All that to say, I don't think it is with a hateful intention. I think it's more so just to have a more interesting character in this position rather than a blank, you know, vendor who owns a clothing store. Next, we have Flack and Shrapnel, who are two River City merchants who live together and are dating. Grouse, a slaver from Paradise Falls, explicitly states that Flack is gay. He uses the term queen in a derogatory fashion, and once again, according to the wiki, his script notes distinctly clarify that he is calling him gay in a derogatory way. Real quickly, I do want to discuss Amada. The thing about her is she is what I think a lot of these tourists, a lot of these people that I'm kind of criticizing and dismantling right now would be really, really annoyed with, because she's a strong female character. She picks up the pieces of what the Vault Dweller leaves behind and keeps Vault 101 going. Even if her father dies, she's able to keep things going and stay strong within that community. She's also brash. She stands up to her father. She speaks her mind. She is exactly what these guys would hate. And this is all the way back in 2008. So just something I wanted to throw in there. These final two characters within Fallout 3 make it a very, very progressive game. These two actually make Fallout 3 one of the first games, period, to mention an LGBTQ couple adopting and raising someone. Carol and Greta are the managers of a hotel in the underworld, a society of ghouls. The two of them have been in a relationship for over 60 years. And, as I kind of hinted at, they are actually the adoptive mothers of Gob, a ghoul who can be found in Megaton. Now, Gob wasn't adopted as a small child. He was turned into a ghoul when he was a younger man. He was probably in his, early adult years. I'm talking late teens. The two of them took him in and helped raise him, and they helped him become the wonderful ghoul that he is today. And there's no doubt in my mind that this is an intentional statement being made by the developers of Fallout 3. The story with Curie, sure, that's up for interpretation. That's a little more out there and metaphorical, but I think this is pretty cut and dry, what they're saying, especially when they were saying it. According to my research, less than a dozen countries around the world allowed same-sex couples to adopt. So having these characters at this point in time, it's no coincidence. This is another example of great representation within Fallout. Not just representation to check a box. Sure, there are stereotypical gay characters throughout the series. Even some of the best, representations of LGBTQ people can be broken down into stereotypes throughout, all different media. But Carol and Greta are a healthy couple who have been together for over 60 years, who also adopted someone and helped them become a better person and helped guide them through the world. That is a great representation of a lesbian couple. On top of that, the story is just interesting. Their existence adds something to the world. It adds something to who Gob is. It adds something to the community of the ghouls and how they operate and the camaraderie that they have. It just adds so much to the world to have these stories and these characters throughout. But hey, if any of you, new Obsidian haters and Bethesda haters are still here, there's still hope for you. Because I get it. You guys think that Bethesda ruined Fallout and that Todd Howard hates New Vegas. He hates Obsidian. So we're going to take a look, actually, at Fallout New Vegas, one that he didn't get his grimy little paws on. And if it helps, Tim Kaine didn't even work at Obsidian at that point. So, this might be your last best hope. And after all, Fallout New Vegas had members of the original Fallout team working on it. I mean, this is what the Founding Fathers intended. Now here's the thing, if I sat down and I listed every single gay character in Fallout New Vegas, this would be a 5-hour-long video essay, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to focus on a couple of key characters and also some themes across the game, because Fallout New Vegas is not afraid to confront traditional masculinity as well as homophobia in its main storylines. And it's not even trying to hide it, it's just there. So first, we'll talk about a couple of characters. The first character I want to talk about is one of many tragic characters within Fallout New Vegas, and that's Corporal Betsy of the NCR. Now, trigger warning for those of you who are unaware, Corporal Betsy was attacked and sexually assaulted by a raider named Cook. While she survived the encounter, the trauma weighed very, very heavy on her. When you arrive, she has kind of stonewalled everyone. She's not letting anyone think that this is affecting her. She doesn't talk about it. She doesn't think about it. Nothing. And the other thing is she's almost begun acting out in a sense, making passes at just about every woman very aggressively, things like that. And so you can help her out in a couple of ways. You need to be able to show her that you can't just cover up this wound. You can't just like let it sit, forget about it. You have to deal with it. You have to work through it before it continues to grow and deepen, you would say. And so eventually you can convince her to go get help from mental health services within the NCR and work through her problems. And in the end, it kind of helps everybody because she's able to sort of come back to herself. Her teammates are happy to see her back mostly normal, because obviously that's something that would still linger, but she's doing better by going to this thing. I think this storyline is very, very important for a couple of reasons. I think, for one, it's important to have it because oftentimes when people go through things like this, they do exactly what Betsy does. They shove it away, they say, nope, that didn't happen, I'm not going to let that affect me, it's not me, it's whatever. They dissociate, they stonewall, whatever you want to call it. This storyline shows the importance of not letting something like that sit with you, and how to really get over things, or at least work through them, you have to acknowledge them. I think the other important thing is the specific choice to have Corporal Betsy be a lesbian. I think oftentimes people can have a certain view of what a victim is. They may think of a certain type of person, a certain stature, a certain look, whatever it is. And I think oftentimes when people are victimized themselves, they have trouble reckoning with the fact that they are a victim, that they need help. No, I'm different. I'm not like what my preconceived notion of a victim is. I'm different. I'm fine. And so I think showing a character who is someone she's tough, she's a soldier, she's cool, you know? Having gone through something like that and then being able to go get help is really important, because it shows that you don't know someone's story. No matter how badass they look, you don't know what they might be carrying with them. So I think it's important to have a character like her be able to go get help and having that storyline within the game. I think it's very important. The next two characters we will be discussing are Veronica and Arcade. These are two companions who are very, very popular in Fallout New Vegas. Both of these characters have really impactful and important stories for LGBTQ people, things that people in the community can relate to. Veronica is one of my favorite companions for many reasons. One, it's hilarious to watch her just run up to something and just sock it and send it flying. It's also terrifying when you're walking away from something and then all of a sudden the critical hit camera just takes you across the map and you see her like punching a fire gecko into the ground or something. When Veronica was younger, she fell in love with Christina, who was another scribe within the Brotherhood. Now, the important thing to remember about this iteration of the Brotherhood, they're very limited. Their numbers are small. And so it was the view of the elders and others within the faction that if your relationship wasn't there to help procreate and make more Brotherhood babies, then it wasn't something that was important. The story that Veronica was told was that Christine's parents were able to break them up, sending Veronica away, and that was that. When in reality, it was actually Father Elijah who was responsible for pulling the strings behind the scene. Christine would be moved out of this specific bunker, but she would still be within the Brotherhood of Steel, working for the Circle of Steel, which is a part of the Brotherhood that I completely forgot about. It's essentially their, I guess you could say, their internal affairs. Like, if someone goes rogue, or if someone within the Brotherhood betrays them, or they believe someone's betraying them, the Circle of Steel are the ones who do the investigation and try to sort things out. She would be tasked by the Circle of Steel to hunt down Father Elijah after the disaster of Helios One's defense. And this was essentially a suicide mission, because she would end up at the Sierra Madre, where the player can actually find her. Their story is really just plain tragic. It's sad. You have young love being broken apart by a terrible institution that believes that their love isn't valid. And unfortunately, that is a reality of many LGBTQ people across time, especially in the past, but even today, this kind of thought process is still out there. Now, of course, this is without all the laser guns and manhunts, but I still think it's relevant from a thematic standpoint, something that people can relate to and something that, a lot of people have been through. Now we're going to talk about Arcade Gannon. Arcade Gannon's father was an officer in the Enclave. A quick reminder, the Enclave is essentially the shadow government, the ones who are really pulling the strings behind the United States government and across the wasteland, really. They continue on into the wasteland. They're the primary antagonists of Fallout 2. Arcade Gannon was born just a couple of years after the end of Fallout 2, which is marked by the destruction of the oil rig by the Chosen One. He was born at Camp Navarro, which, if you are kind of a casual, you haven't really delved into Fallout 1 and 2, you probably have heard the name from this clip.
Welcome to Camp Navarro. You were out of uniform, soldier. Where was you? Where was your power?
Now, Arcade lost his father at a very young age. However, he never really got over it. It's something that always followed him around. As the New California Republic continued their crusade against the Enclave, Arcade and his mother, as well as a couple soldiers from Camp Navarro, were forced to escape. But the danger wasn't over yet. The Brotherhood of Steel was also after any Enclave remnants they could find. Eventually, they would move south and try to integrate within the NCR to kind of leave things behind. After that, Arcade would eventually find the group the Followers of the Apocalypse, which allowed him to learn more about medicine. He also has a deep interest in the history of the world, in the history of the past, and things that led to the failure of our old world. He's very, very intelligent and is very caring. He wants to help people. But even through all of this, Arcade still remained close with the remnants of the Enclave that he and his mother traveled with. One thing that Arcade struggles with is wondering if he is anything like his father. The other members of the remnants, they encourage him, they reassure him, but he still wants to know deep down if his father would be proud of him and what he's doing. Through his time with the Courier, he slowly learns that, he doesn't need to impress his, long-lost father. He isn't obligated to do what he thinks his father would have wanted. He still wants to make a positive impact, but in his own way, in a way that he knows how to. The climax of this lesson and this idea comes with the second battle of Hoover Dam. Arcade needs to decide if he will suit up with the remnants of the Enclave and help them fight in battle like his father would, or if he should stay behind in Freeside with the Followers to help anyone who needs it. Because I think we often forget that the second battle of Hoover Dam has many, many moving pieces, and there's combat all across the wasteland. Arcade's story is one that's always hit home for me, and it's one that I've always thought about and really appreciated. I think it's a story that has to do with masculinity at the end of the day. As a gay man, or as a bisexual man even, your masculinity can get called into question. Whether it's by other men, or if you're bisexual, the women you date, it's something that tends to be questioned because you're not straight. And this may be unfairly stereotyping, which I apologize, but the way I viewed this story is that Arcade can choose to do the masculine thing, to go fight, go pick up a rifle and go shoot people just like his old man would have wanted, or he can do something more feminine, which is staying behind, helping, caring for people, aiding people, which is his own path. I think his story reflects the choice that, people, even if you're not gay, the choice that many people have to make is becoming the person you're supposed to be, the person you want to be, or becoming the person that your father, society, whoever believes you should be. This story is especially applicable to gay men and the idea of what a man is, particularly, when you're a queer man and you have to figure out what it means to be a man, because society, your parents, whoever, are going to have a very different view of that. Not that it's not applicable to other people. I think the concept of choosing who you want to be versus what everyone else thinks you should be is a universal experience. But in this case, I think it's especially tapping into the gay experience. Next, we'll get into some of the themes of Fallout New Vegas. Fallout New Vegas deals with LGBTQ characters and people head on because the NCR revolves around bringing back the old way, the old ideas, the pre-war things. What comes with it are these outdated institutions and outdated ideas about LGBTQ people. Now, of course, the NCR is by far the most accepting and open faction within New Vegas. There are still problems and inequality, but same-sex couples are considered normal. It's not an illegal thing within the NCR. It's Caesar's Legion that really has the most to say about specifically being gay. Caesar mandates that every legionary has a wife and must produce children. There's a child quota as far as I understand it. Homosexuality is also forbidden and punishable by death. This is because, at the end of the day, Caesar views his subjects, the tribes, his soldiers, as a resource, as numbers on a sheet, not anything beyond that. But there's something really interesting about Caesar in particular when it comes to gay themes. This is something I didn't even know because I, frankly, never ever considered doing this. You can sell Arcade into slavery to Caesar. You can sell him to Caesar, which is... You can see why I've never done it, because I love Arcade. Because of Arcade's vast knowledge of history, of medical science, as well as Caesar's own very, very vast knowledge of the pre-war, the two of them end up getting into a lot of debates over the years, and are constantly discussing things and talking about all sorts of things. And Caesar, in a sense, grows quite fond for Arcade. But in the end, Arcade would choose to take his own life by disemboweling himself, mirroring Cato the Young. Legion doctors can't save him, and Caesar mourns him for a long, long time. It kind of makes you wonder. It kind of reminds me of those, you'd read in history class that, these guys were really good friends. They loved cuddling all the time, and when he died, he kissed his casket all over and blah, blah, blah. But they were great pals. Pals do that. It's like, oh, might have been gay. Not saying any specific president may have been gay, or at least bisexual. I don't know. Now, of course, simply outlawing homosexuality doesn't immediately get rid of it. What often happens within Caesar's Legion are usually done between a legionary and a slave. So it's by no means a relationship in any sense. It's so barbaric in a sense that these legionaries, after all this stuff, if they even think they're going to get caught, they will resort to trying to kill the slave so they can't tell anyone about it, if they feel that there's some kind of suspicion towards them. We know this because of a story from Jimmy, a slave who was able to escape his death. He was having encounters with a certain legionary who attempted to kill him afterwards. And these things and these stories have led to so many rumors across the Mojave. Veronica will joke about the legionaries being gay and things like that. It's kind of one of those open secrets about the Legion, that there are a lot of gay people within it, even if they try to hide it. And this kind of brings me to the source of a lot of the bigotry within the Fallout community. The people who believe that things are going woke, specifically within Fallout, and that things were better before, and that Bethesda doesn't understand Fallout. It really comes down to a lot of the Legion fanboys. I think it's one thing to have fun with a faction, to side with them because, I don't know, the armor's cool or you think they're interesting. I don't agree with the Brotherhood of Steel in Fallout 4, however, I have done playthroughs with them and I think they are an interesting organization. But Legion fanboys are something else entirely. In the same way that some men idolize Taxi Driver or Patrick Bateman, Legion fanboys fail to see through the hyper-masculine facade of the Legion. They fail to see that these extremely aggressive masculine features, the deep voices, the violence, the armor, the muscles, all these things, they fail to see that these are done in a way that's meant to criticize and examine masculinity and being a man and what society's old idea of being a man was. Those things are being done in a way that's meant to make fun of those very things. I know the term like media literacy gets thrown around all over the place, but it's true. You don't have to read between the lines to enjoy a story, but I think it's important to at least learn how to before making it your entire personality. All that to say, the Legion as a whole is, about as masculine and strong and all that as like Fight Club. It's meant to be a extreme version of it that's meant to make you think about it and re-examine it. But oftentimes people can't see past that because, they are the target audience of those strange hyper-masculine, hyper-aggressive movements. Finally, we will discuss Fallout 1 and 2, starting with Fallout 2, which released in 1998. Fallout 2 was one of the first major games to include same-sex marriage. And remember, this is 1998. This is before same-sex marriage in the United States was a common and widespread thing. This specifically refers to some NPCs in MODOK, Davin and Mira. No matter what the Chosen One's gender is, you can romance either of them. Eventually, you'll be threatened into having a shotgun wedding, which both of the characters you're getting married to are happy to do it. They don't mind. It's not like they're against it. It's just kind of a funny situation. But it's true. You can get married to the same sex in Fallout 2. There's also various other instances of being able to have gay relationships within the game. For example, the Chosen One can flirt with and sleep with Leslie and Bishop no matter their gender. You also have some fairly progressive crime families within Fallout 2, such as John Bishop, who is the head of the Bishop crime family. He does not care if members are gay or whatever. He does not care. One of the more freaky encounters, I guess you could say, is Francis, who's a super mutant in Broken Hills, who you can challenge to an arm wrestle. And you can wager yourself if you know what I mean. And if Francis wins, no matter what the gender of the Chosen One is, he will take you up on that. Now, I will say, this is something I had not heard of before. This was cut from the game, so that's important to say. There was a random encounter called the Rainbow Confederation. They were a random encounter of an extremely radical group of gay people who would attack you on sight if you weren't dating someone of the same sex, if your character wasn't married to someone of the same sex. They also, spouted various slurs and things like that, stuff that's been like reclaimed depending on who you ask, but it was definitely not the most respectful bit of representation. I think it could have been done in a funny way, but I think for the greater good, I think it was alright that it was cut. Finally, this brings us to Fallout 1. In Fallout 1, after rescuing Tandy from the cons, you can try to have sex with her. If you're a male vault dweller, she will react with hostility instantly and shut you down. However, if you're a female vault dweller, she will kind of blush before telling you that she only likes boys and kind of excusing herself from the conversation. That kind of confirms for us that she is in some sense queer. The other thing is, Tandy becomes the president of the NCR, one of the biggest and greatest factions in the wasteland, a woman becomes the president and essentially founder. She worked within the NCR at such an early point in its creation that she played such a major role in it that, I mean, come on. That's another example of a female character that some of these guys would hate because she was strong and powerful. You're telling me she's running the country, there's a female president? Well, that's just woke nonsense. Like, and this was all the way back in Fallout 1 and 2. This was set up. And that brings me to the end of the game. That is a large portion of the LGBTQ representation within all the Fallout games. Now, I know I did skip games like Fallout Brotherhood of Steel, Fallout Tactics, and Fallout 76. Fallout Tactics and Brotherhood of Steel are not really considered canon. If anything, they are soft canon, so you can kind of take it or leave it, I guess. The other thing is Fallout 76 is still being updated as we speak. New characters and stories are being added constantly. It's something that I didn't feel like I could talk about in this video that is otherwise very, very comprehensive. I felt that this video was really, really important to make right now. This sentiment that things used to not be woke, or that the simple inclusion of a gay character or gay storyline in something automatically disqualifies it as some sort of political nonsense. It's just so disgusting to see be spread when gay characters have always been in media. Gay stories, gay themes have always been in media. And gay people have always been around and will continue to be around and will continue to make fantastic stories. And I think Fallout is a perfect example of that. While its representation hasn't always been perfect, they've always tried. There's always been good stories, good themes throughout the various different entries as it's changed studios, changed developers over the years. So I really hope that you enjoyed this video. So thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you, and I hope you have a good morning, or evening, or, you know, whatever. Don't have any? You expect me to believe that, maggot? You lost a piece of government-issued equipment. You will be in this man's army until you're 510 years old, which is how long it will take for you to pay for a Mark II power combat armor that you have lost.